Live from New Delhi, you're watching DD India Newshour, India's voice to the world. I'm Mark Lin. Namaskar. Coming up in the next hour. Millions of yoga enthusiasts around the world perform yoga in public to mark the 10th International Day of Yoga with the theme Yoga for Self and Society. Prime Minister Narendra Modi performs yoga asanas along with thousands of enthusiasts on the banks of the Dal Lake in Kashmir, calls yoga an agent of global good. Bangladesh's Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina arrives in India on the first incoming state visit after India's 18th general elections. The EAM Jai Shankar calls on the visiting leader Hasina to hold bilateral consultations with Prime Minister Modi on Saturday. Russia indicates that it's open to security talks with the United States, but says they must be comprehensive and include the subject of Ukraine. Whether practiced individually or in a group setting, yoga offers a sanctuary for personal growth as well as spiritual renewal, making it a valuable tool for improving overall well-being in our modern, often hectic lives. Now, various ministers from the Indian cabinet, the President of India and the Prime Minister also marked the International Day of Yoga. Here's our report.
The International Day of Yoga is observed every year on different themes. This year, the theme for its 10th edition is Yoga for Self and Society. People all around the world celebrated International Day of Yoga on Friday. Yoga encompasses a diverse range of techniques and philosophies aimed at achieving harmony within oneself and with the surrounding world. President of India Draupadi Murmu performed yoga to mark the special day at India's Rashtrapati Bhavan. Joined by other participants in a series of yoga postures and breathing exercises, President Murmu underscored importance of yoga as part of India's cultural heritage and its relevance in contemporary life. Meanwhile, more than 4,000 people from all walks of life performed yoga along with India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi as he led the nation on the International Day of Yoga on Friday. Prime Minister Modi was in Srinagar to mark this special day. He performed yoga on the banks of Dal Lake and addressed the yoga enthusiasts present there and said that
योग केवल एक विद्या नहीं है, बल्कि एक विज्ञान भी है। आज सूचना क्रांति के इस दौर में हर ओर सूचना संसाधनों की बाढ़ है। ऐसे में मानव मस्तिष्क के लिए एक विषय पर फोकस कर पाना एक बड़ी चुनौती साबित हो रहा है। इसका भी निदान हमें योग से मिलता है। हम जानते हैं एकाग्रता मानव मन की सबसे बड़ी ताकत है। योग ध्यान के जरिए हमारा ये सामर्थ्य भी निखरता है।
Prime Minister Modi greeted the participants at the Sher-e-Kashmir International Conference Centre in Srinagar in India's Union Territory of Jammu and Kashmir. He also clicked selfies with the yoga enthusiasts present at the occasion. Leaders and prominent personalities from all across the nation united to celebrate the age-old discipline of yoga on the 10th International Yoga Day. India's Information and Broadcasting Minister Ashwini Vaishnav participated in a yoga session in New Delhi. Union Home Minister Amit Shah performed yoga in the Western Indian state of Gujarat's Ahmedabad. Various ministers observed the International Day of Yoga, including External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jai Shankar, Union Ministers Suresh Gopi in Kerala's Kovalam, Raja Mohan Naidu, Giriraj Singh, along with former Speaker of India's lower house Om Birla, practiced yoga during the International Day of Yoga celebrations. Yoga is not merely a physical exercise but a holistic practice that integrates the body, mind and the soul. officials at the helm of affairs, along with people across the globe, observed the International Day of Yoga to emphasize the importance of this ancient practice. With inputs from Jessica Taneja from Jammu and Kashmir, Antara Sinha for DD India.
India, the birthplace of the great art and science of healthy living, yoga, celebrated the International Day of Yoga on Friday with great fervour. DD India's Mihir Makuri takes us through the celebrations from the hills of Ladakh in the Himalayas to the beaches of Puri in Odisha.
At the freezing heights of the Siachen Glacier, Indian Army soldiers performed yogasanas, showcasing their dedication and resilience in extreme conditions. In Ladakh, at an altitude of over 15,000 feet, personnel of the Indo-Tibetan Border Police engaged in yoga. In contrast to these icy landscapes, the sand dunes of Rajasthan's Jaisalmer provided a unique backdrop for the Border Security Force personnel as they performed yoga. At sea, sailors on board various Indian naval warships, including the Vikramaditya, Shivalik and Tarkash, performed several yoga postures. In an intriguing sight, the personnel of the National Disaster Response Force, accompanied by trained dogs, engaged in yoga practice on Friday. And Chief Minister of the North Indian state of Uttarakhand, Pushkar Singh Dhami, participated in a yoga session with locals and tourists at Parvati Sarovar, Adi Kailash.
प्रधानमंत्री नरेंद्र मोदी जी ने पूरी दुनिया के अंदर आज योग को ले जाने का काम उनके नेतृत्व में हुआ है। उन्होंने जो संयुक्त राष्ट्र महासभा में प्रस्ताव रखा था, उसके कारण से निरंतर रूप से आज पूरा विश्व 21 जून को योग दिवस मना रहा है।
Residents of Lucknow, Uttar Pradesh, enthusiastically participated in yoga sessions. Meanwhile, in the South Central Railway Vijayawada division, individuals celebrated the day with equal fervour, showcasing yoga's universal appeal. In Gujarat's Rajkot, women practitioners demonstrated the art of yoga in a synchronized manner in a swimming pool, emphasizing its role in promoting physical and mental harmony.
आज यहाँ पे हमने एक्वा योगा का सेशन किया है वर्ल्ड योगा डे के अवसर पे और सारी महिलाओं ने बहुत अच्छे से इधर एक्वा योगा की प्रैक्टिस की है जिसमें 12 साल से लेके 70 साल तक की लेडीज ने प्रैक्टिस किया है। लगभग 50 से ज्यादा लेडीज ने पार्टिसिपेट किया था और ये बहुत ही बढ़िया जैसे प्रोटोकॉल के आसन थे उन सभी आसनों का प्रैक्टिस हमने पानी के अंदर किया था।
On the occasion of International Yoga Day, renowned sand artist Sudarshan Patnaik created a sand art on the theme Surya Namaskar. This year's International Day of Yoga underscores yoga's profound impact on young minds and bodies with the theme Yoga for Self and Society. The celebration aims to unite thousands in the practice of yoga, promoting health and wellness on a global scale. Mihir Makri's report for DD India.
And India's External Affairs Minister, Dr. S. Jaishankar, led a diplomat yoga session in Delhi. The foreign delegates participated in the diplomat yoga session. The UK envoys to India impressed everyone with their yoga skills. And the UK High Commissioner Lindy Cameron was seen holding a lotus position during the yoga session. And the British High Commissioner to India, Lindy Cameron, the UN Resident Coordinator in India, Shombi Sharp, and the Norway Ambassador to India, May Ellen Stenner, they shared their experiences of attending this yoga session led by the External Affairs Minister, Jaishankar. Let's listen to how they termed yoga as India's gift to the world.
अंतर्राष्ट्रीय योगा दिवस की हार्दिक शुभकामनाएं। It's been a wonderful morning, invigorating here, celebrating the 10th anniversary of the International Day of Yoga. And really, this is a wonderful way to celebrate harmony between the individual spirit and community. And we see this, the UN, we see this as a path towards health, a path towards peace, and we're all here celebrating today.
So it was fantastic to be here in Delhi, actually able to practice yoga on International Yoga Day with Dr. Jaishankar. I mean, both myself and my deputy are regular yoga practices, and so actually to be here with all the diplomatic corps was fantastic. I think it really is India's gift.
I love yoga. I think this practice was very, very good, and I learned new things about breathing on the Yoga Day. A happy International Yoga Day, everyone.
And from the United States to Africa to Japan, Yoga Day helped people to cut stress and clutter from their lives as they embraced harmony and oneness in myriad yoga poses and practices. Now, thousands of yoga events also brought millions of yoga enthusiasts together to celebrate International Day of Yoga. Rabindra Chauhan has this report.
Yoga, originating in ancient India, has transcended cultural and geographical boundaries to become a global practice embraced by millions. Let us discuss some highlights of events held in various countries around the world and the yoga programs organized by various Indian high commissions across the globe on Friday. Marking the International Day for Yoga, thousands gathered at the iconic Times Square in New York City to perform yoga. Organizers of the event have said that the number of US nationals practicing yoga continue to soar as more and more people have realized both the physical and spiritual benefits of yoga. International Day of Yoga 2024 was also celebrated at the iconic Trafalgar Square in London. Celebrating the day, yoga teachers in Japan are hoping that they can help the practice break into the mainstream Japanese society. International Day for Yoga was celebrated at the United Nations office in Geneva, which was led by Indian spiritual leader Sri Sri Ravi Shankar. While residents in Dubai embraced wellness as over 225 people participated in the yoga celebrations held at Dusit Thani, Dubai, organized by the Art of Living Foundation. The event followed the common yoga protocol. Dozens of Indians and other foreign nationals gathered in the capital of Democratic Republic of Congo to mark the day, which was organized by the Indian Embassy. The fervor of International Yoga Day was vividly seen in Bangladesh's capital Dhaka too, as people from all walks of life gathered to participate in the celebrations. The 10th edition of International Day of Yoga was celebrated across Nepal with the practice of yoga sessions in the morning. The Embassy of India in Kathmandu organized a yoga practice session in Pokhara. In Sri Lanka, the 10th International Day of Yoga was observed at Gal Fort. The Consulate General of India at Hambantota made arrangements for the celebrations at the UNESCO World Heritage Site at Gal. The Embassy of India in Jakarta celebrated International Day at the Ministry of Youth and Sports grounds on Friday. Ambassador Sandeep Chakrabarti, together with the chairperson of Kormi and Suryati MC, Deputy for Youth Empowerment at Kemenpora, graced the event with their presence. On this occasion, the United Nations in Nairobi and India in Kenya celebrated a decade on the International Day of Yoga at the UN office. Diplomats, UN staff and Kenyan yoga enthusiasts united under the theme Yoga for Self and Society. While the occasion was celebrated on the rooftop of Gallery Lafayette with a beautiful background of the iconic Eiffel Tower and Paris Opera. Despite heavy rain, the 10th International Day of Yoga was celebrated in Germany. The event drew over 750 participants. Hosted by the Embassy of India in collaboration with the city of Dresden, the event showcased the unifying power of yoga. Yoga Day event was also celebrated in New Zealand in association with the High Commission of India and Art of Living. MP Ginny Anderson and Ingrid Leary graced the occasion. High Commission of India, Kuala Lumpur, organized the International Day at the iconic Batu Caves complex on Friday. Over 1,200 yoga enthusiasts participated in the event, including members of diplomatic community, senior officials of Government of Malaysia, heads and members of various Indian community associations. While the Consulate General of India in Melbourne celebrated 10th International Day of Yoga at iconic Melbourne Cricket Ground with the participation of Victorian Government MP Steve McGee.
Well, India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi thanked countrymen and the world for practicing yoga on such a large scale. On social media, the Prime Minister said that yoga has become a unifying force, bringing together people across cultures and backgrounds. He said that it is gladdening to see the youth participating in yoga sessions with such zeal and dedication. PM Modi also expressed gratitude to all those who popularized yoga and said these efforts will go a long way in furthering unity and harmony. And still to come here on DD India News Hour. Expectations are high on both sides as Bangladesh's Prime Minister Hasina begins her state visit to India. Russia says it's willing to talk to the United States provided Ukraine is discussed. And UK Prime Minister Sunak takes betting allegations very seriously in his party. He says those found guilty will be booted out of the Tory party.
We just don't bring you the news as it unfolds. We get to the heart of the matter.
We don't just present facts, we demystify complex social, political and economic events.
We break stories that shape the world's present and future because you deserve the truth.
I am Tanvi Taneja from New Delhi.
I'm Ollie Barrett from London.
I'm Nick Harper from Washington, D.C.
Join us on DD India Global Monday to Friday at these times.
Voice of a rising aspirational world. Stories of challenges, struggles and accomplishment. A world battling conflict, hunger and poverty. Embracing growth, development, science and technology. A voice of progress, a voice of unity. Watch Voice of the Global South with me, Akshay Dongre, only on DD India.
You're watching DD India News Hour. I'm Mark Lynn. Now, at the invitation of Prime Minister Narendra Modi, the Prime Minister of Bangladesh, Sheikh Hasina, has arrived in India on a two-day state visit. India's links with Bangladesh are civilizational, cultural, social and economic. And during the last 10 years, both countries have seen enhanced connectivity as several bus and train routes have become operational. Besides that, the development partnership, trade and business ties have also improved between India and Bangladesh. Let's look at this report.
Prime Minister of Bangladesh, Sheikh Hasina, arrived in India on Friday on a two-day visit. This is the first bilateral state visit after the formation of government in India following the 18th parliamentary elections. Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina will hold bilateral consultations with the Prime Minister Narendra Modi. Both sides have high expectations from the visit.
The first state visit from the neighboring countries. Both sides have a lot of expectation because the relationship is so special and so friendly. Tomorrow you'll get more details of all the things that are there in the offing, the discussions, the MOUs, the agreements, all that will be signed. But both sides are committed to deepen this and strengthen this very special partnership that we have with Bangladesh.
On the first day of her visit, India's External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar called on the Prime Minister of Bangladesh. Jaishankar said Sheikh Hasina's state visit to India underlines close and abiding ties between the two countries. Bangladesh is the biggest development partner of India. India has extended 3 lines of credits to Bangladesh in the last 8 years, amounting to around $8 billion for development of infrastructure in various sectors. In addition to these lines of credits, the Government of India has also been providing grant assistance to Bangladesh for various infrastructure projects, including construction of Akhoda-Agartala rail link, dredging of inland waterways in Bangladesh, and construction of India-Bangladesh Friendship Pipeline. India has funded 74 high-impact community development projects, including construction of student hostels, academic buildings, skill development and training institutes, cultural centres and orphanages in Bangladesh. Prime Minister Narendra Modi and Prime Minister of Bangladesh, Sheikh Hasina, jointly inaugurated 3 Indian-assisted development projects on 1st of November last year. These 3 projects are Khulna-Mongla Rail Link, Unit 2 of the Maitri Power Plant and Agartala-Akhoda Rail Link. Bangladesh is India's biggest trade partner in South Asia and India is the second biggest trade partner of Bangladesh in Asia. Bangladesh exported $1.97 billion of goods to India in fiscal year 2023-24. In fiscal year 2022-23, the total bilateral trade has been reported at $15.9 billion. Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina inaugurated the India-Bangladesh Startup Bridge in March 2021. Several bus and train routes connecting the two countries have been operationalized. Efforts for greater connectivity to forge enduring people-centric partnership have resulted in rehabilitation of 6 pre-1965 rail links between India and Bangladesh. Prime Minister Narendra Modi and Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina inaugurated the 6th cross-border rail link between Agartala station in India and Akwada in Bangladesh on 1st of November last year. Both countries have operationalized the agreement for the usage of Chittagong and Mongla ports in 2023. The ratification of Land Boundary Agreement of 1974 and its protocol of 2011 resulted in the exchange of 111 Indian enclaves in Bangladesh with 51 Bangladeshi enclaves in India. India's links with Bangladesh are civilizational, cultural, social and economic. On 9th of June this year, Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina had attended the swearing-in ceremony of the Prime Minister and the Union Council of Ministers. With Fuzail Ahmed, Tanvi Taneja for DD India.
And Professor Sanjay Bharadwaj from the School of International Studies, JNU, joins us now. Professor Bharadwaj, put this visit into context for us, the importance of it from the symbolic point of view. Expectations are high on both sides.
Yeah, of course, her visit is very important for Bangladesh as well as for India. You know, the two countries, they have developed a developmental partnership, particularly keeping that we will take the bilateral initiatives in the regional framework, that whatever initiatives will be taken bilaterally that should have that should enhance the regional connectivity and regional development. That is the spirit that the two countries had been taken place. Bangladesh significance has been realized by India, keeping India's northeastern states development in one way, and the another way is the India's Act East policy to execute the Act East policy for the cultural connectivity, for commercial connectivity, for physical connectivity, for the capacity build up to the Southeast Asian countries. Bangladesh is a linchpin, is a you can say bridge between India and the Southeast Asian countries. So Bangladesh significance has been realized, and keeping this into mind, India had been instrumental for the development, particularly the infrastructures, road, port, railway, river transportation systems in Bangladesh in last a decade and more. Right. And we have extended around $8 billion line of credit. We have also extended the grants for development of rail links, like I can say that from Agartala to Akwara, rail connectivity is one of the examples. Then Khulna to Mongla to connect with the Mongla port.
Yes, Professor Bharadwaj, but yes. If we look, I mean, Sheikh Hasina was here for the Prime Minister's inauguration and the swearing-ins of the ministers of the Union Cabinet and Council of Ministers, and she's here, 2 weeks after that. Also, the point is that the External Affairs Minister has already called on her, so there is obviously some expectation in terms of substantive outcomes from this visit. What, in your view, would that be?
No, Bangladesh significance has been identified from the very beginning. You can see after September 2023, this is third visit of her. She had attended oath-taking ceremony of Prime Minister Narendra Modi 2 weeks back. Today she is on state visit. She has been invited as a special invitee in G20. So you can see that the significance for of Bangladesh in India's mind and in policy is very, 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 very important. But the second very important aspects keeping into mind, because the way the extra-regional powers are very active in Bay of Bengal, the way the Chinese have developed very deep strategic interest in Myanmar, they are trying to reach to Bangladesh, and they're trying to come in Bay of Bengal also, where India traditionally had been a security provider of Bay of Bengal region. So India is developing, cultivating not only economic partnership but also strategic partnership in Bangladesh. Bangladesh has well reciprocated, keeping India's security concerns, particularly in the case of countering terrorism, curbing insurgency and defying fundamentalism in eastern part of South Asia. So she has been very reciprocal in addressing India's security concerns. But India has been had adopted a constructive unilateralism in development of Bangladesh. Bangladesh has become one of the leading economy in South Asia. The way human development index, the way
we'll have to leave it there. Thank you very much, Professor Bharadwaj. Thank you for coming in and explaining to us the importance of this relationship. We look forward to the interaction with the two prime ministers tomorrow. Now, the United States has said that it supports direct discussions between India and Pakistan, but the peace, scope and character of talks should be determined by the two neighboring countries. The U.S. State Department spokesperson Matthew Miller said that the U.S. values its important relationships with both India and Pakistan.
We value our important relationships with both India and Pakistan. As we have said, we support direct discussions between India and Pakistan, but the pace, scope, and character should be determined by those two countries, not by us.
The Kremlin spokesman Dmitry Peskov said on Friday that the Russian President Vladimir Putin is open to security talks with the United States, but they must be comprehensive and include the subject of Ukraine. He said that such dialogue was needed because of an accumulation of problems relating to global security. And DDI India correspondent Dasha Chernyshova from Moscow has more on this development.
Well, indeed, Moscow says that such talks are in demand, and Moscow would be willing to engage into the negotiations with the United States because the problems are piling up. The Russian understanding is that these conversations should focus on Ukraine as part of a wider context in which there will be the new Eurasian security architecture that will provide for the indivisible security for everyone, so that there is no provision of security of one state at the expense of another. That has always been the Russian position, and Moscow once again invites the Western countries to engage in such negotiations, following, of course, the remarks by Russian president speaking about the possibility of amendments made to the Russian nuclear doctrine. The Russian president has been saying that indeed these negotiations are needed, but he also has noted that the statements that are now coming from the Western countries are extremely hostile. They provide for the lowering of the threshold when nuclear weapons could be used, and that's why we understand that Russia will be engaged into the creation of the new security architecture in Eurasia that will be based on the organizations that are already functioning in the region, such as the Shanghai Security Cooperation organizations, for instance. And these negotiations would certainly, from the Russian perspective, involve the withdrawal of the foreign contingents of the powers that are not part of Eurasia.
The British Prime Minister Rishi Sunak on Friday restated that those under investigation for allegedly putting betting on an early general election announcement would face the full consequences of the law. Speaking during an election manifesto launch in Wales, Sunak said that multiple investigations are taking place, including a criminal investigation, and anyone found guilty would be booted out of the Conservative Party.
I was incredibly angry when I learned about these allegations, in the same anger that many of you will feel and everyone watching. And it's right that they are investigated thoroughly. These are serious allegations. Right that they're properly and thoroughly investigated, as they are being independently, including a criminal investigation, as you'll be aware, by the police. And what I would say is if anyone is found to have broken the rules, they should face the full consequences of the law.
British public debt rose to its highest in May this year as the share of the economy since 1961. And this will add to the financial pressures for the next government as soon as it comes into power after the July 4 elections. Public sector net debt, excluding state-controlled banks, rose to $3.47 trillion or 99.8% of the gross domestic product in May. That's up from 96.1% a year earlier, the Office of the National Statistics said on Friday. But British debt levels are below the debt increase of most other Western countries, including the United States, France and Italy. Still to come here on DD India News Hour, we'll discuss the advantages of yoga for self and society on the 10th International Day of Yoga. India formalizes $313 billion of its economy, according to leading banks, the State Bank of India. India reiterates that it wants peace on the Indo-China border, and twofold talks are underway. You're watching DD India Newshour. I'm Mark Lynn. Here's a recap of our main stories. Millions of yoga enthusiasts around the world perform yoga in public to mark the 10th International Day of Yoga with the theme Yoga for Self and Society. Prime Minister Narendra Modi performs yoga asanas along with thousands of enthusiasts on the banks of the Dal Lake in Kashmir. Calls yoga an agent of global good. Bangladesh's Prime Minister Hasina arrives in India on the first incoming state visit after India's 18th general elections. The EM Jaishankar calls on the visiting leader Hasina to hold bilateral consultations with Prime Minister Modi on Saturday. Russia indicates it's open to security talks with the United States, but says that they must be comprehensive and include the subject of Ukraine. And returning to International Day of Yoga, we are privileged to have with us Dr. Manjunath N.K., who is the Vice Chancellor of the Swami Vivekananda Yoga Anusandhana Samsthana, or the S. Vyasa deemed to be university in Bengaluru. Thank you very much, Dr. Manjunath. So I believe that the institute that you head is more into research. So how widespread is scientific research in yoga across the world?
Yeah, first of all, let me bring the greetings of the 10th International Day of Yoga to all the viewers of Doordarshan. And thank you very much, Marklin, for covering the yoga-based activities across the world so well in Doordarshan. Yes, yoga has been believed to be a great and intangible heritage of India as declared by UNESCO. It has been called as a Shastra. It has also been treated as a science, Yoga Shastra, Yoga Vijnana. So you asked the right question, that can yoga be treated as a full-fledged science along with treating it as a full-fledged Shastra? Yes, yoga is a science, a culture and a tradition, as well as a self-discipline for many people in the world. Yes, Vyasa University has been engaged in scientific research of yoga for more than 40 years. And I'm proud to say that yes, Vyasa holds little close to 15% of world literature on yoga published in various national and international journals.
That's wonderful to hear, sir. So let me
benefits.
Right. Let me just come in about some of the benefits. What is the importance of yoga at a time when lifestyle diseases seem to be on the rise here in India as well as in the world?
Yeah, lifestyle has become a fundamental issue for all our health problems today. And we know several contributors are there, factors which are contributing to this. In yoga, it is said that yukta hara viharasya, yukta chestasya karmasu, yukta swapnava bodhasya, yogo bhavati dukkha. So what it says is we need to bring in a moderation. We need to regulate our lifestyle. be it our basic food habits or our physical activity, mental stress, or chest, which also depicts our habits. So several of the modern day non-communicable diseases are related to our lifestyle. And yoga provides a comprehensive and a kind of a single formula based methodology for handling all of them. So it is very essential for us to understand how do we bring in this kind of a moderation and regulation. Several publications talk about how physical activity can facilitate maintaining and preserving health. On the other side, it is not just the physical component of yoga. Everybody believes that yoga is synonymous with asanas or physical postures. Yoga also involves several other aspects like breathing, pranayama.
Okay.
Yoga involves relaxation. Yoga also includes meditation. All of them put together comprises and makes it as a comprehensive package for managing our day-to-day living. But also it is essential not just looking at practices of yoga, but adopt it into your life. That's how this year's theme is yoga for
self and society.
For society.
Dr. Manjunath, how important is the mind for yoga? And can people, with mental illnesses, achieve potential out of yoga or follow yoga practices properly?
Yoga uses mind as the fundamental tool for regulating all our activities. All the definitions of yoga are related to mind. You say yoga chitta vritti nirodha manaprasha mano upayaha yoga ityabhidiyate or samatvam yoga muchyate. All of them talk about how do we regulate our mind and maintain it in a balanced state. So it is essential to actually bring in this kind of a coordination, because we know that several of the diseases are also having its root in the mind. Stress forms the fundamental entity which contributes to several of the diseases today. And also people with lots of mental illnesses. Today, we don't need to go to serious mental illnesses, but depression is one of the major issue. Anxiety is another major issue. And various other entities which are related to our emotional imbalance. All of them can be very well regulated. And there are scientific evidences suggesting that you can reduce depression, you can control anxiety, and you can also manage your emotional imbalances through the practice of yoga, particularly focus on your breathing and meditation.
Indeed. Dr. Manjunath, also to what extent is yoga, integrating with the modern allopathic medicines, or, is it always being seen only as linked to alternative medicines?
Yeah, yoga is, that's how kept as one of the entity within our Ayush ministry.
Yes.
So thanks to our Prime Minister who made yoga not just popular, he made it as part of everybody's life today. Ayush ministry integrates yoga and naturopathy along with other systems of medicine. We call them as traditional systems of medicine, or you better call it as complementary and integrative systems of medicine along with allopathic medicine. It can augment probably the beneficial effects of several other systems of medicine on one side, and number two, it can act as an add-on therapy. It can work as an adjuvant therapy even in several chronic diseases like cancer and various other painful conditions.
Indeed. A final question, Dr. Manjunath. How do we make yoga popular in terms of, let's say people who have hard working lives? Is there a chance, like rather than taking a coffee break, perhaps take a yoga break, or, or maybe even if people who have certain types of addictions, they can try and resort to yoga to try and, maximize their professional expertise?
Yeah, it's an excellent question, because many of the people who are running through their busy life, and they find it difficult to bring in work and personal life balance. So we always say that you bring yoga into your work life itself. So there are several ways you can integrate yoga into your workplace. So, for example, we have a specialized yoga module which we give it to all the people who are desk workers to begin with. Sitting disease is a very big problem today. So probably we have to ensure that everybody gets up and does some physical activity every 1.5 hours. So it can be as simple breathing when you are sitting on your chair, simple stretching, and also doing some kind of meditation-based practices.
Okay.
It is essential also to adopt some amount of philosophy of yoga into our life. Otherwise, just with practices, we may not achieve everything. So it is well known already. The awareness is very good. And thanks to International Day of Yoga, it has brought in yoga in several forms to everybody's life already.
We'll have to leave it there. Thank you very much, Dr. Manjunath NK. Thank you for being with us, and happy International Day of Yoga to you once again. Moving on then, a research report released by the State Bank of India, it said that India has formalized $313 billion of the economy in 7 years. Estimating the share of the informal economy from the recently released annual survey of unincorporated sector enterprises, the SBI researchers have found that the share of the informal economy has fallen to 23.7% in FY23 from 25.9% in FY16. The researchers said that eShram portal, which has registered 297 million unorganized workers, could further fast-track the formalization process. The report also noted that the bottom of the pyramid accounts for 43% of the private final consumption expenditure. The SBI classifies those earning less than $3.65 a day at the bottom of the pyramid. And also, private final consumption expenditure grew 4% in FY24 when the economy logged 8.2% growth. Services accounted for a larger share of the informal enterprises during this period. India's Ministry of External Affairs has briefed the media on Friday, and the spokesperson talked about the current situation on the Indo-China border. The spokesperson said that twofold talks are underway on the Galwan Valley.
गलवान को लेके हम लोग पहले भी कहा है कि दो तरफा हम लोग की बात चल रही है, एक मिलिट्री टू मिलिट्री लेवल पे और दूसरे राजनयिक लेवल पे। जब ज्यों-ज्यों हमारी ये बातचीत चलती रहती है, मैं आपको इस मंच से और उसके अलावा प्रेस की विज्ञप्ति के जरिए आपको बताते हैं कि क्या प्रोग्रेस हो रहा है। लेकिन हम लोग चाहते हैं कि जो सीमावर्ती क्षेत्र है उस पे शांति बहाल हो ताकि चीजें आगे जा सके।
Speaking on the U.S. congressional delegation meeting the Dalai Lama at his residence in Dharamshala in India, the MEA spokesperson said that the Dalai Lama is accorded due courtesies and freedom to conduct his religious and spiritual activities. The meeting sparked anger from China, which views the exiled spiritual leader of Tibet as a separatist.
The government of India's position on His Holiness the Dalai Lama has been very clear and consistent. He is a revered religious leader and is deeply respected by the people of India. His Holiness is accorded due courtesies and freedom to conduct his religious and spiritual activities.
India on Friday strongly objected to the Canadian Parliament's move to observe a minute's silence in honor of the Khalistani separatist Hardeep Singh Nijjar. At a press briefing, the MEA spokesperson also said that giving political space to extremism is not acceptable.
You know, time again we have said that this is a matter of serious concern for us. Khalistani activities, we have been repeatedly calling upon the government of Canada to take action. We have said that political space that is provided to extremist anti-India elements and those advocating violence must stop and they must take action.
Let's take a look at other stories from India. The Delhi High Court on Friday stayed the order granting the bail to the Delhi Chief Minister Arvind Kejriwal in the money laundering case connected to the liquor policy case. The court stayed the operation of the bail order till final order is passed on the stay application filed by the Directorate of Enforcement. In a jab to the Congress party for opposing the nomination of Bhartrihari Mehtab as the pro tem Speaker of the lower house of Parliament, the Parliamentary Affairs Minister Kiren Rijiju said on Friday that those who have not read the system and its rules would be the only ones to notice any infraction. In Tamil Nadu, the death toll due to consumption of illicit liquor has reached 47. 3 accused were sent to 15 days of judicial custody. Day 2 of the State Assembly session began in Chennai with a ruckus as opposition legislators sporting black clothes raised slogans inside the House over the Hooch tragedy. Still to come here on DD India News Hour. Kenya sees nationwide protests against the government's proposed finance bill. WHO flags concerns about fake versions of Ozempic, which is being circulated. It's a drug used for type 2 diabetes.
We are looking at the phenomenon of personal chemistry between world leaders and how it impacts on foreign policy, with special reference to the unique friendship diplomacy of Prime Minister Narendra Modi.
This is a connect which I think has been very unique and which he has really taken to a level that has not been seen in international diplomacy before. Japan, with Australia, with the Gulf, I think our relationship has changed significantly there. With Europe, I mean, in a certain good example is, Scandinavian countries where we have a strong green connect because of that personal relationship. Latin America, a new relationship developing. Everywhere, I think that personal connect has made the difference.
You're watching DD India News Hour. I'm Mark Lynn. New satellite images reveal that North Korea is building sections of what appears to be a wall in several places near the border with South Korea. The images showed that land inside the demilitarized zone has been cleared, which experts say is a violation of the long-standing truce with South Korea. The demilitarized zone is a 2.5 miles wide buffer zone between North and South Korea. And these two countries are still technically at war because they've never signed a peace treaty. Each side of the demilitarized zone is controlled by their respective countries. The U.S. State Department said on Thursday that the possibility of Russia diverting weapons to North Korea was incredibly concerning. The U.S. State Department spokesperson Matthew Miller said that it would destabilize the Korean Peninsula and potentially violate UN Security Council resolutions that Russia itself had supported earlier. The South Korean Vice Foreign Minister Kim Hong-kyun summoned the Russian ambassador Georgy Zinoviev on Friday to convey Seoul's stance on the deal between President Putin and the North Korean leader Kim Jong-un on the alleged military cooperation between Russia and North Korea. South Korea's Foreign Minister Cho Tae-yul and the U.S. Secretary of State Anthony Blinken had also condemned the treaty as a serious threat to regional peace and stability, as per Seoul's foreign ministry. Russian ambassador has responded that threats and blackmail against Moscow over its increasingly close ties with North Korea are unacceptable. And the Russian President Vladimir Putin on Thursday warned South Korea that sending lethal weapons to Ukraine would be a big mistake. His comments came after Seoul announced that it would consider arming Ukraine in response to Russia and North Korea signing a mutual defense pact on Wednesday. Nick Harper, DD India's correspondent, gives us a report on the escalating tensions. Let's listen.
The battle between the superpowers, the US and Russia, playing out in North Korea. The visit by Russian leader Vladimir Putin to visit the leader of North Korea, Kim Jong-un, has ruffled feathers here in the United States, also caused consternation in South Korea. Two main issues coming out of this visit are causing that concern. Firstly, the security pact signed between the two countries, saying that they would come to the defence of the other if they were to face aggression or if they were to be attacked. Considerable concern that Russia and North Korea are growing much closer with that deal. But also the suggestion that Russia might start arming North Korea. That has caused significant problems. We've heard from the US Secretary of State Antony Blinken, who has said that it would cause a serious threat to peace and stability. Matthew Miller, the State Department spokesperson, calling it increasingly or incredibly concerning, saying that it would destabilise the Korean Peninsula, could also violate UN Security Council resolutions, the very resolutions that in the past Russia has supported. But on the other hand, we've also seen criticism during this visit by the Russian leader, Vladimir Putin, in particular to the suggestion that South Korea may start sending arms to Ukraine to help it in its fight against Russia. We heard from the Russian leader saying that that would be a big mistake. Other Russian officials calling it unacceptable, saying that it was an attempt to blackmail and threaten Russia. But certainly this visit, this alliance between Russia and North Korea, has created increasing concern. The worry is that it could help to strengthen Russia's hand in its fight against Ukraine, but it could also help North Korea as it continues its nuclear and weapons testing program. Nick Harper in Washington, reporting for DD India.
Well, China on Friday threatened to impose the death penalty in extreme cases for die-hard Taiwan independence activists for splitting the country and inciting secession crimes in accordance with the law. Now, Taiwan has complained of a pattern of ramped-up Chinese pressure since Lai had won the election in January, including ongoing military actions. The Taiwanese President Lai Ching-te has vowed that the Taiwanese people will not give in to Chinese coercion. At least one person was killed and over 200 were injured in parts of Kenya as the country has faced nationwide protests against the government's proposed finance bill. After going to Parliament on Thursday, Kenya's finance bill has advanced to committee stage after receiving 204 in favour and 115 in fact against. The President William Ruto, will have the final say if the bill passes the third reading. Daniel Kijo reports.
The last 48 hours were scenes of riots and displeasure from citizens in Kenya's capital, Nairobi, as well as other parts of Kenya like Mombasa. Young people ranging from 18 to 35 to 40 in their hundreds took to the street to show their displeasure with the proposed finance bill and the tax changes in which President William Ruto's government was pushing for. Some of these changes that citizens were adamant should not be included in the finance bill were a 16% value addition tax on bread, as well as doubling of taxes on older cars. So over the last 48 hours, about 300 people were detained by police who say they were only exercising their constitutional right to show their displeasure. This echo was also heard from human rights group who echoed this sentiment, saying that citizens were free to express their displeasure. However, on the other hand, police and security forces said that the way that the riots were organized were illegal. Now we know that yesterday Kenya's finance bill was advanced to the committee stage in Parliament after receiving 204 yes votes and 115 no votes. The bill, which is part of the 2024-2025 budget, includes tax increases on various items, like I mentioned, bread, as well as mobile money transfers, cars, eco tax on harmful products as well. Protests have erupted in Kenya because of concerns of rising cost of living, living if this bill rises. The government argues that the taxes will help pay off debt and drive development. Despite the proposed revisions to some of these taxes, protesters demand the entire bill should be dropped, citing that the remaining taxes increases will only impact the cost of living. President William Ruto will have the final say if the bill passes after the third reading. This is me, Daniel Kijo, reporting for DD India from Dar es Salaam.
And the World Health Organization on Thursday issued a global alert warning against fake versions of Ozempic, which is a treatment for type 2 diabetes, which is increasingly being used, in fact, as a way of losing weight, flooding the markets. The United Nations Health Agency noted that they have observed an increased demand for these medicines as well as reports on falsification. The WHO said that the fake drugs could be harmful and if they do not have the necessary raw components can lead to health complications. The WHO's alert addresses 3 falsified batches of semaglutide, which was detected in Brazil and the United Kingdom in October of 2023 and then again in the United States in December of 2023. The 18th Mumbai International Film Festival concluded on Friday in Mumbai. The Best Indian Documentary Film Award was presented to 6A Akash Ganga. It was directed by Nirmal Chandar Dandriyal, and another film, Towards Happy Alleys, won the Best Student Film Award. The Matt Waldeck received the Special Jury Mention Award for his American film Lovely Jackson at the film festival. This year's MIF, it showcased 314 films from 59 countries in 61 languages. MIF provides a platform for documentary filmmakers from all over the world to explore the possibilities of co-production of documentaries, short films and animations. Well, that's all we have in this edition of DD India Newshour. Let's know your thoughts on the news of the day. And for those of you on the go, yes, you can always, download the DD India mobile app. It's available in Android and iOS platforms. Scan the QR code and download it. We'll be back with more news. This breaks here on DD India. My name is Mark Lin from all of us here in Delhi. Thank you for watching DD India Newshour. Namaskar.